everybody. Welcome back to another live stream. Today, we're going to talk about Rust. Rust, the programming language. So, I've never used Rust, but what we're going to do is look into how to use it. Starting from scratch, we're going to figure out a good editor, figure out how to install the compiler, actually install it, write a hello world, and from there we'll just start exploring. Hey, SecDevOps AI, welcome. Good to see you here. Glad you stopped by. We're going to check out Rust. We're going to build a little cookbook, see how it works. It's a language, it's been a real hot topic, but I've never gotten around to using it. I've used Go quite a lot, but people talk about Rust too, and they tend to compare Rust and Go, but I think there's some slight differences with Rust. I think you get a little more control over the memory, while still getting some safety in the language, so I'm going to open gedit real quick, and I'm going to do a quick outline of some of the topics that we want to work on. So, hello Jason Codes, good to see you, welcome. So I have a page on my website about Cookbook, and I also have a Cookbook Git repository. Now, in the cookbook, it's just got a whole bunch of random programming languages, and so I've done a tiny bit of Rust before. All I did was the hello world, so it's been a long time too. It's been months and months, so I forgot all of it, but there's lots of little C, Java, Python snippets, and I use it all the time for reference material for myself. And I created a little page and a video kind of explaining my cookbook method. I mean, it's not anything unique. You can go find a whole bunch of programming books titled things like, Perl cookbook, Python cookbook, this and that. So, nothing too unique in that regard. But the idea is you just start small and you build up snippets, starting with a hello world. So I encourage you, if you're learning a new language or a new framework or something, come to devdungeon.com. Cookbook. Narrated Gaming, welcome. It says, LMAO, this is a great stream, Matrix window face tracking and buttons. Hey, welcome. I hope you hang out and enjoy it. We're going to look at Rust programming language today, so here I have some example cookbook topics, and I'm just going to kind of start there and copy and paste these into our agenda. Now, I don't necessarily expect us to get through all of these, but the idea is to explore the language a little bit. So we'll start with the hello world, and then do something like getting user input from standard input, taking command line arguments, just learning how the language works and how the pieces fit together so we can start getting a feel for it. Then we can look at reading and writing files. This is all stuff that if you actually use the language, you'll probably end up doing a lot. So it's good to have reference snippets that you wrote that you're familiar with to use as reference. We can look at TCP sockets. We can try and make a simple TCP client and server. We can try doing support scanning. Other common things, if you ever want to work with an API, is making an HTTP request or parsing JSON. So we'll check out both of those, see how difficult it is, see what the libraries are like. Do they have built-in standard libraries that do that, like Go does? Or do you have to find some third-party packages? How do you install third-party packages? All that good stuff. So creating CSV files, making database connections, yeah, so we'll probably go up through creating a CSV file and maybe working with spreadsheets. After that, it's kind of a toss-up, I don't know how advanced the Rust programming language is. Advanced, I should say mature. I don't know if they have libraries for GUI programming. There might be a wrapper for GTK or Qt. We might be able to just kind of explore. I just want to see what's available out there. So we'll see what it's like trying to play audio and do threading and see what kind of graphics libraries are out there. So let's get started. Rust. Oh, they have a nice get started button. Let's try the button. Alright, installing Rust. So again, I'm kind of starting from scratch here. So Narrated Gaming asks, what is Rust usually used for? And that's what I'm trying to figure out. I've never personally had a use case for Rust. And I've used a lot of different languages, but there's never come up a situation where someone has told me, Rust is the language you want to use for that. My favorite language is typically, I can say that it's a pretty low-level language from my understanding. You can actually manipulate memory, and you got pointers and stuff. But I usually stick with Python as my first go-to. And if Python's not enough as far as performance, if something's really heavily multi-threaded or needs a compiled binary, or some cross-compiling or something like that, I use Go. Java is also a really good option if you want to do GUI programming, because your GUIs are guaranteed to work across all platforms, and it's just nice and consistent. Java is also good if you ever want to do audio, graphics GUI, audio, stuff like that. Stuff that's really difficult with C to do cross-platform and distribute. It can be a big hassle to do that with C and getting the libraries right and everything, so Java just makes that really good. Narrated Gaming asks, I'm assuming it's similar to the use of Python, and I would say no. Python is a higher level programming language. Rust is more like C++, to my understanding, so enough about me yapping. I'm going to keep going with this installing Rust instructions. So I've got a terminal open here. I don't want to try the playground. I actually want to install it. Rust up, the Rust installer and version management tool. I don't think I want to do that either. Can I just apt-get install the compiler? Ubuntu Rust compiler package. Rust C. Okay, Rust compiler. So we'll just do a sudo apt-get install Rust C. That's fine. So it looks like Cargo is the name of the package manager. Cargo, the Rust build tool and package manager. Yeah, so Jason Code says Rust is like Go. And that's my understanding. It's more like Go because people compare them a lot, but I think Rust gives you a little bit more control over memory than Go does. Go gives you pointers, but you can't do pointer arithmetic. You can't really manipulate much. And I'm gonna get some different music going here. Okay. Yeah, it's a little lower level. Or I guess it's about the same level as Go, but you get more memory control. So anyway, Cargo is the Rust build tool and package manager. So it wouldn't be used for a professional case. Depends what you mean by professional. I do believe people are using it in production settings. It's a hot topic in the security world too. People talk about it a lot, but I think it's more in a curiosity, like, is it good? Is it useful? Is it good for writing exploits or reverse engineering? So now that we have Rust C installed, it looks like we've got Cargo installed. So what does Cargo give us? Okay, clean, run, init. Okay, init, create a new Cargo project in an existing directory. Init, so I'm looking for some build ones, or the important ones. It looks like build is going to be an important one. Clean, new, init, run, publish, install, So let's just try cargo new Rust cookbook. This probably creates a single application, so what I should do is let's just start a new one. We'll call it cargo new hello world, and I'm going to make a directory called Rust cookbook and move our hello world inside there. Okay, build your project with cargo build, run your project with cargo run. Okay, let's try. So it should have built. So, okay, it looks like it generated a very simple hello world code for us. So, let's see. Do we just run cargo run in the directory? Like that? Okay, we do. So, can we do cargo run dot? Same thing. What if we do cargo run specifically on that file? Let's go outside of the project directory and see if we can run it. Okay, no, that doesn't look like... It may not care what I give it afterwards. Yeah, so you just have to be in the directory and it's going to look for these toml files. Okay, so we've done the hello world. That's neat. I'm going to open Visual Studio Code. Narrated Gaming says, oh, that's cool, it's sponsored by Mozilla. I forgot about that. I didn't realize that. It sounds vaguely familiar, but yeah, they're probably using it to build the backend for Firefox and stuff. So let's open this folder in Visual Studio. So Dwayne says, isn't Firefox written in Rust? I don't know. Let's do a real quick check. Is Firefox written in Rust? Rust, Mozilla's research language for fast and safe system-level programming, is on the eve of new release. So this was from February of 2017. Rust's the new version 1.15 at that time. Most notable feature is revamped build system written in Rust and using Rust native blah blah blah. Is Firefox written in? It looks like they are writing some parts of it, at least in Rust. Is Rust a good language? While Rust is a general-purpose language, you could write your next web app in Rust, but you wouldn't be experiencing what it has to offer. Rust is a low-level language, best suited for systems, embedded, and other performance-critical code. Welcome, Mythic. It's good to see you back. We're looking at Rust today. We're just building up a cookbook of Rust snippets from scratch. So where are we? I'm opening my cookbook folder that we created here in Visual Studio Code. Okay, so I'm going to create a README, and we're going to call it Rust Notes. Yes. Go ahead and install a restructured text plugin. Okay, Rust Notes. Installing compiler. In this case, it's just sudo apt-get install rust c. Start a new project is, what was it, cargo new? Cargo new. My project. Run. Hello from Poland. Hello, Robert. Welcome. Hello from Texas. Run it was just cargo run. Narrated Gaming, well, good to go. Hope to see more streams like this. Bye, good luck. Thank you. Glad you stopped by. And yeah, I plan on doing more like this, so go ahead and subscribe and come hang out more. Let's see. Cargo run, let's say, from the project directory. Cargo cargo run. Okay, so we've got our hello world done. Okay, I just wanted to start that README and start a couple notes, so if I come back, you know, many months from now, and I need a refresher on my Rust stuff, I've got some notes on, oh yeah, okay, this is how you install the compiler and get going, and then here's a hello world program, and in this case, it just creates a main.rs with fun main, print line, exclamation point. I mean, I guess it's cool that they're really excited about the print line. At least it makes your first program kind of exciting. It's not just like, oh, let's print a line. It's print line! So it creates a cargo.toml. I'm going to call it a toml file. TOML. It looks like just a kind of an INI style file. Looks like it's got all the metadata for our package with some default info, some author. Interesting. It looks like it's when I was doing the Minecraft plugins the other day, it looks like it set my Git user to the Spigot build tools. I'll have to change that, but okay, so name of the file and version, a lock file, that's kind of unimportant. So let's add a quick git ignore file too, because I don't want all this stuff to end up in the repository we end up making, so let's leave out the VS Code folder. It's just a little hidden folder that's not really relevant. Let's leave out the lock files. Let's leave out any directories named target, because that's, in most languages, the target, yeah, is just where your compiled files get created. And so we don't want to store the compiled files. We do want the source. We do want git ignore. Oh, it looks like it generated a .git ignore when we did the cargo new. And it automatically ignores the target. It keeps the lock in there. Maybe we do want to keep it, but I'm gonna leave it out. We'll see. Okay, so we got a little README. We got a hello world. So let's advance. I'm not gonna mess yet with trying to build documentation or publishing it. Maybe by the end of it, let's take a note about that. So once we get to about here, let's look into packaging, modules, and publishing. Because I am curious how that works and what their website is like. You know, for Python, they've got the Pippy repository, which is really nice. Rust support is available. Let's see. If we open the Rust file, it might suggest a plugin for us. It's got syntax highlighting already. But let's see if there is any plugins. Oh! Oh, it's not installed. Let's install it. And it's done. What kind of features does it have? Code completion, jump to definition, code formatting, refactoring, that's a nice one, snippets and build tasks. So, some basic stuff, we might not use any of it. Let me equals no. Is that how you define a variable, Robert? Okay, let's get out of here, go back. Let's start a new project. Let's go back to my terminal. The other terminal. So, cargo new. What's the next one in our list? Getting user input. We'll call this one user input. And then we'll go back to Visual Studio. There is a terminal. You can do control backtick or control tilde, and it'll open the terminal in Visual Studio Code. but I'm not, I guess, okay. Yeah, it's just, for the sake of screen space, I'm going to keep them separate. Okay, so now we've got a new project. It should be something like let string equals hello. I'll see, Robert. We'll get there in a second. Okay, so we've got a new project now called user input, and it gave us a hello world, which is fine. So we can cargo run just to make sure it runs. Cool. It says hello world. Now we want to do, what's a comment? Is it backslash hashtag? Yeah, looks like it is / get user input from standard in. So how do we do that? Let's find some documentation. Oh well, let's finish reading their getting started page before we jump too far ahead. Generating a new project, we already did that. Cargo toml is the manifest file. It's where you keep the metadata for your project as well as dependencies. Okay, cargo new, cargo run, we already did all that. Adding dependencies. Okay. Let's add a dependency to our application. You can find all sorts of libraries on crates.io, the package registry for Rust. In Rust, we often refer to packages as crates. Great, so they have a whole bunch of weird terminology you gotta remember. Instead of just calling things packages, you gotta remember it's a crate. Did you add your crate to your project? We're so clever and nifty at naming things. I can't hate. I mean, I like Ruby and gems. I like Ruby gems. Crystal is another language I'm interested in. Crystal is basically Ruby, but compiled. So it uses all the Ruby syntax, essentially. And I'm a fan of Ruby, too. Ruby is a great language for shell scripting. Basically, when you need to write a bash script, a bash shell script, you should do it in Ruby, but here I'll show you real quick what I mean, because I think this is a really cool thing about Ruby. I need to install Ruby real quick. So in Ruby, I know this is a little side note, but I just want to show off this one little thing about Ruby, and then we'll get back to Rust, I promise. So in Ruby, if you do backtick, you can just run any shell command. So you just do backtick ls, backtick, print working directory. And so what's cool about it is you can just do like ls.split. And so, you don't even need the parentheses. So, it's trying to write for loops and doing line splitting and stuff in Bash can be real gross. So it's really cool to just like do these backticks and then use the output, and then just do, work on it in Ruby blocks and stuff. So that's one cool thing about Ruby. That's why I like it for writing shell scripts. It feels like a super enhanced shell. Okay, so crates.io. Let's start making some bookmarks. I'm going to make a folder called Rust. Yeah, so yesterday we did some PayPal stuff. Yesterday we looked at how to get payment notifications from PayPal using Python and a simple Flask web application. The night before we looked at writing custom Minecraft plugins. Before that, we looked at writing Discord AI chatbots in Python. So we cover a bunch of random programming topics here. Tonight we're looking at Rust, and we wrote a little hello world so far. And now we're working through the getting started page that they provided. And so I'm going to bookmark rustlang.org. It's www.rust-lang.org. That's the official site. And then the package site with all the package, all the third-party packages That's called crates.io. I'm going to put these in the README too. Okay. Package repository is crates.io. Raywa says, have you thought about streaming on Twitch instead? I have, but you know, I've already got the YouTube channel here for this. I do a little bit of Twitch streaming, but it's actually gaming. It's actually, I play StarCraft and stream that. I usually do a little bit of StarCraft Twitch streaming after I do this stream. It's kind of what I do to just relax before I go to bed or whatever. I mean, I've only been doing it for about a week, but I am trying to do some daily streams. Especially this one. This is the one I try and do daily for sure. Okay. So, a couple bookmarks here. Getting started in package repositories. So let's browse some of the things they have here. Not new. Let's see most downloaded. Live C. Okay. You need to download a third-party package to use Live C. Bit flags, RAM. Okay, log. These can't all be like third-party public ones, can they? Regex? Are they really? Or is this where they actually put the official standard library packages? Because it would be kind of surprising to me if things like regex and log and rand are not in the standard library. Look at this build error. Let's see. Who's the author? Authors, the Rust project developers. Okay, so this does look like the core packages. I say core, but it looks like you still have to add them. Maybe it's just a reason. Maybe they just did that to, you know, really modularize the language, keep it small. But okay, so those are official quote-unquote libraries. WinAPI. WinAPI looks like a fun one to explore. You can probably do things like Windows notifications, creating windows. You can probably do the speech-to-text using the Windows tool. Okay, well, let's go back to the Getting Started page. Let's add a dependency. We'll use a crate called Ferris Says. In your opinion, Mythic asks, in your opinion, Rust versus any C type. If you select C, what flavor, such as C++, C#, C? Well, I don't know. I don't know enough about Rust yet to make a really informed comparison. My understanding is it's more akin to C++. Okay, let's go to our cargo toml and add a dependency. Ferris Says. I wonder if there's a cowsay library. There is. By somebody, at least. That's the dependency I want to put. Oh, I guess it doesn't look like it's published. Let's go back here and check out Cowsay. No, there's Ferris Says. Oh, a Rust-flavored replacement for the classic Cowsay. So it pretty much is a Cowsay. So, good. Now we can run cargo build. Is that it? But yeah, okay. To use this dependency, we need to use this. This is essentially what the import statement is then. Whatever. We'll do this, even though this one's called user input, we'll just play with it. So to import a package, or to use a package, you say use Ferris Says : say. So, let's see. This line means that we can now use the say function. So we'll try that out. Mythic asks, how about Go versus Python? Now, those aren't fair to compare directly like I wouldn't say one is better than the other, but they suit two different use cases for sure. Go and Python are probably my two favorite languages and my two go-to languages. Python is my first go-to language. I basically do as much as I can in Python because it's very easy to write and it's very quick and it's easy to read later, and it's, you know, lots of packages and you can do everything from GUI to mobile and stuff, so it's very, very flexible. Now, I would move to Go in a situation where I needed more power. Utility-wise, okay, so you're asking utility-wise, Go versus Python. Well, Python has more packages, but Go has a really, really powerful standard library. The standard library in Go has all kinds of stuff like networking and encryption and JSON, and it even has HTTP server and templating and stuff all built in. So out of the box, Go kind of has more utility there, but Go's not as flexible as Python. You know, there's no real good GUI libraries for Go. You can do some mobile, but it's not very prolific. Go's good for high performance server stuff. That's when I would use it. When you need really heavy multi-threading. I have one Go project that's kind of a perfect use case example. It's called Web Genome. And so the Web Genome is like a web crawler, and it goes around and it does a breadth first crawl of the internet and stores all the HTTP headers. And so it just goes around and crawls the net, and I've kicked it up to 256 threads, 500 threads, and it just flies. It just flies. And it's so fast. And it uses all the CPU cores, so that's the big thing. Python can only use one CPU core, basically. Because of the GIL, the Global Interpreter Lock, Python, even though you can have threads in Python, you can't utilize more than one CPU unless you do multiprocessing. That's one of the huge limitations. Same thing with Ruby. Go's a very simple language too. Okay, so we were trying out this Ferris Says thing that it recommended for us. Okay. So interesting. We have to do quite a bit of work here to get this going. So on top of saying just use Ferris Says, we need to add use standard IO, standard out, buff writer. And I kind of wish they would have just put two F's there. But that's a personal thing. Okay, so let standard out equals standard out. Interesting. So you have to call a function called standard out in order to return the handle for standard out. Okay. Don't know why they couldn't have just like made that a constant that you import or something. Let out equals bytes. Let out equal B, double quote, hello fellow Rustaceans. I hope that's not really what they call the Rust community. Rustaceans. Alright, Rustaceans, build your crates. So the B probably means bytes. So if we just do without it, it might do a string, but with the B, it probably converts it into bytes. And I wonder what the default encoding is. Does it default to UTF-8 in Unicode, or does it default to ASCII? I'm gonna try something. let's just put a Unicode emoji in it, because Go will let you put emojis and Unicode and like Japanese characters and Russian characters right into it. So let's put a smiley face right in the middle and see how it handles it. Okay, let's go back to the tutorial. Okay, so we've done this. We have to do more work. Let mute writer equal buff writer new standard out dot lock. This is really turning me off. Like, is this really what you have to do? Is this common? Is this idiomatic? Okay, so let mute. So it looks like mute is a special keyword, probably to say mutable. I don't know. I'm taking a stab there. Let mut writer equal buff writer new standard out dot lock. Okay, and then we finally get to use the say function. Say, and we have to pass it 3 parameters. Out, which is our text. The width, which is the width of our thing, which I guess it has trouble calculating itself. And mut writer. Okay, so the address of the mut writer, the mutex, mutable, mute, is it mutex because there's a lock? Yeah, so there's standard out dot lock. Mutexes are for locks, so is that a mute? I don't know. I don't even know what's going on here. Say out with writer dot unwrap, and I don't know what this unwrap is for, but gee whiz, that is not very intuitive. That's gonna take me a while to memorize if that's how you do some standard out stuff. So let's try and run it. I'm already saying if this is their get started page, this is the official get started page. So I can only assume that this is the most gentle introduction that they can give you. And if that's the case, I'm sorry, but you go to the Go tour and it's so much nicer. Like, the language itself just makes more sense. Okay, yeah, it didn't like my Unicode smiley face. So I'm guessing it does just ASCII by default. Just, yeah, byte constant must error. Byte constant must be ASCII. Use /x hex for a non-ASCII byte. Okay. Maybe missing crate. Oh, they told me I have to do a cargo build. And cargo build will install the dependency, but something's not looking right. So we have the dependency in the .toml file. Did we do that import statement right? Use Ferris says : say semicolon. So that looks maybe a missing extern crate, Ferris says. Let's figure out what that is. So now, did I miss a step? In this dependencies, now we can run cargo build and cargo will install the dependency. So let's just see if that runs any better. Unused imports. Okay, so it doesn't like the unused imports. So let's just try a totally empty file and do a cargo build, because we defined the dependency in the toml metadata file. So I'm assuming if we do that just like they said, cargo build, it will install the dependency, but I'm not sure where it installs the dependency. I'm not sure if it has a global package repository or if it kind of downloads it right into the target directory, so we'll figure some of that out. Okay, so that built okay. You'll see the running command created a new file, cargo.log. This file is a log of the exact versions. Yeah, that's there. There's no problem there. To use this dependency, add this line. And we did that. So I'm gonna try copying their code straight up in case I had some typo or something. The errors. I'm using Rust 1.30. So yeah, their official example on the Getting Started page doesn't work. It doesn't work for me. Am I doing something wrong? Maybe a missing extern crate, Ferris says. You know, maybe this is something new they added in the language that is not updated in the documentation, so okay, that was it. The compiler at least gave us some helpful information there. Compiler says error, unresolved import, for Ferris says. Maybe a missing extern crate, Ferris says. And so we just added that line at the top before our use statement, which is like the import, I guess. And then we run it, and it runs okay. It's just like cow say. So that's cool. I'm going to rename this file, or this directory, cow say. Okay, cool. So now we have a nice little cow say example. Learn more. Okay, looks like that's the end of their tutorial. You're a Rustacean now. That really is the words. Now, we've got Rustaceans with crates. This language is very interesting. Okay, I'm a Rustacean. We're so glad to have you. When you're ready, hop on over to our Learn page, where you can find lots of books that will help you to continue your Rust adventure. Let's learn more. So Mythic says, I heard Rust can be very complicated. Some even say it can be harder than C++. That's interesting. I haven't heard that before, but I haven't known many people who use Rust. Mythic also says Go, Assembly, Python, Bash, JavaScript. If you have any opinions as to stuff I should add, just say. So if you're looking to learn just kind of the fewest languages possible, I would start with Python. This is just my personal, it depends on what you want to do, but I would say you start with Python. And from Python, you need at least one supplemental language, one that is more performant and more of a system level kind of compiled language. So you can go with Go. I think Go is a great complementary language. Java is another one. I know Java gets a lot of hate, but Java really is an awesome language. The right once run anywhere, being able to compile a single .jar with all the dependencies that runs anywhere. The flexibility, being able to write super fast applications that can even run faster than C++ applications, and being able to run create everything to GUI desktop apps. So Java's a really good one too. JavaScript it's an okay language. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it's kind of a necessity to learn if you're doing any kind of web application or security stuff, because JavaScript is so prolific. So it is an important one to know. Bash is kind of a must-know too, but only to an extent. Bash, you really only need to know the commands that aren't even really bash. I mean, I have one book, it's an O'Reilly book on bash, and I've read through this book like twice over the years, and I learned a lot of good stuff from this. A lot of good stuff. A lot of the keyboard shortcuts, a lot of the tricks, a lot of the little like run things again. So you can do like that and it'll run the last command that has the word run in it. You can do like bang dollar, and it will it'll take the last word from your previous command. You know, Control P, Control N, the shortcuts Control A, Control E to go around and to kill the lines, and there's so many little things that will make you more efficient there. So it's really good to get real familiar with bash. So let's go back here. So for those of you who just joined, today what we're doing is checking out the Rust programming language. And so far we have installed the compiler. Let me go back to my notes here. So I've got a README kind of documenting some of the stuff we did in case I need to refer to it in the future. So we installed the compiler, which is just a sudo apt-get install rust c. We started a new project, which is cargo new. That's their little package manager and build tool. And cargo run to run it. We looked at one example of adding dependencies. So to add dependencies, you modify the cargo.toml file, and you just add the dependency under the dependencies section. Pretty simple there. And inside the main file, .rs is the Rust file extension. We have to define extern for our external package, and then we have to define the use statements for the things we want to import, essentially. And then you have to do all this black magic just to write out the standard out. This, I'm really wondering if this is something you have to do like all the time just to write the standard out, but I guess we'll see. So we did that. We did a hello world. We looked at adding dependencies, and now we're just before we do all of them, we're kind of working through the documentation that they provide too. So we started with the getting started page, and now we're past that. We're looking at grow with Rust. All of the documentation is available locally using the Rust up doc. Good. That's one thing I really like about languages, and it's kind of a must-have, is being able to pull up the documentation for things locally, whether it is in the terminal or whether it generates a web server. It's really nice. Like if you're on a plane, you don't have the internet or something, it's nice to have. So Rust up, do I have Rust up? Was that installed with the Rust C package? No? So is that something I can install like this? No, there's no package for that, so let's look up Ubuntu install Rust up. Okay, so Rust up looks kind of like RVM, which is the Ruby version manager, or Python virtual environments. It looks like it allows you to kind of switch. It might let you switch between them, but it installs differently than the default package manager. So to avoid anything getting confused, I'm actually going to remove Rust C that I installed via the package manager, and I'm going to install it this way, which looks like an alternative installation method, using something called Rust up. I'm not familiar with their Rust up. Don't have curl. Okay. it will add cargo, rust C, and rust up to your bin location located there. This path will then be added to your path. Okay, so I don't have to do anything there. Well, we'll see, because I'm using Z shell, so it looks like it will set up correctly. You can uninstall at any time with rust up self uninstall. Current installation 64 Linux. Stable update path, yes. So this all looks good. So doing it this way, there's no tie to the Ubuntu app package manager. So I'll have to do updates and remove it all using this rust up tool, it looks like. So just doing like an apt get update doesn't look like it'll fix it. Rust is now installed, okay. So looks like I need to start a new shell. Is that not the cargo? No? Okay, let's echo my path. Yeah, so it looks like it did not update my path properly. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that myself. Oh, where was it? It was home/.cargo/bin. Yeah, .cargo/bin. So let's redo rust C. Cool, that works now. Cargo. Oops. Okay. And it looks like we even got a newer version. With Ubuntu, we had version 1.30. This gives us 1.32. Okay, so that looks good. Close. See, get some different music going. Where were we? Okay, so we installed rust up. We were trying to follow, yeah, rust up doc. That's what I wanted. So where was I looking at? Here we go. Here's the command. I'm going to store this command in the README. Install with rustup is this command. And then don't forget to update the path to use .cargo/bin. Okay. So let's try the documentation tool. Get docs with, they say it's rust up doc. Okay, so it looks like all it does is actually, if you do rust up doc, it just opens a browser to a local HTML file that is under your share doc. Rust documentation. Welcome. Learn Rust. Rust by example. Use Rust. Standard library. Yeah, let's explore the standard library. The Rust standard library is the foundation of portable Rust software, a set of minimal and battle-tested shared abstractions for the broader Rust ecosystem. It offers core types like a vector and option, library-defined operations on language primitives, standard macros, I/O, and multi-threading, among other things. Standard is available to all Rust crates by default, just as if each one contained an extern crate standard. Okay, so let's just go back to, it looks like we got through all of their initial tutorials, so now that we have some more familiarity, let's start exploring more on our own. And so what I'm interested in is in Rust command line arguments. So if we have a program, let's start a new project here. So I'm going to go into my Rust Cookbook directory and do cargo new. And in this case, we're going to do user input for this one. Okay, let's open user input main file. And it just defaults to a hello world. That's all it generates for us out of the box. Okay, accepting, so this is the official doc.rustlang.org. The second edition of the book is no longer distributed. If you came here via a link or web search, you may want to check out the current version of the book instead. Okay, no problem. I'm going to bookmark this one then. This looks like a great resource. So I'm going to go back to my README, update the useful links with the documentation. What is this? Okay. Forward. Let's go ahead and read it. Maybe we'll learn something important about the language. It wasn't always so clear, but the Rust programming language is fundamentally about empowerment. No matter what kind of code you are writing now, Rust empowers you to reach farther, to program with confidence in a wider variety of domains than you did before. Take, for example, systems-level work that deals with low-level details of memory management, data representation, and concurrency. Traditionally, this realm of programming is seen as arcane, accessible only to a select few who have devoted the necessary years learning to avoid its infamous pitfalls. And even those who practice it do it with caution, lest their code be open to exploits, crashes, and corruption. Rust breaks down these barriers by eliminating the old pitfalls and providing a friendly, polished set of tools to help you along the way. Programmers who need to dip down into lower-level control can do so with Rust without taking on the customary risk of crashes or security holes, and without having to learn the fine points of a fickle toolchain. Better yet, the language is designed to guide you naturally towards reliable code that is efficient in terms of speed and memory usage. Programmers who are already working with low-level code can use Rust to raise their ambitions. For example, introducing parallelism in Rust is a relatively low-risk operation. The compiler will catch the classical mistakes for you, and you can tackle more aggressive optimizations in your code with the confidence that you won't accidentally introduce crashes or vulnerabilities. But Rust isn't limited to low-level systems programming. It's expressive and ergonomic enough to make CLI apps, web servers, and many other kinds of code quite pleasant to write. You'll find simple examples of both later in the book. Working with Rust allows you to build skills that transfer from one domain to the other. You can learn Rust by writing a web app, then apply those same skills to target your Raspberry Pi. This book fully embraces the potential of Rust to empower its users. It's a friendly and approachable text intended to help you level up not just your knowledge of Rust, but also your confidence as a programmer in general. So dive in, get ready to learn, and welcome to the Rust community. More Rustaceans now. Programming a guessing game. Actually, this is a really good example that I use when I'm teaching languages too. So, skip down. Here we go. to get standard in, it looks like we want to use this line. IO, : standard in, read line, mutt guess, expect, fail to read the line. Okay. Not the most intuitive thing there, but it's not too bad either. So we also need to add a use standard IO at the top, and we don't need to add xturn create standard like we did before, because they said that is essentially implied, so the standard crate is always there. I'm still not really seeing all the tie between the terminology. We've got crates that are rusty. I thought crates were made out of wood though, so we've got some rusty wood crates that are being worked on by crabs. That's basically what I'm getting out of the language. We've got rustaceans who build crates out of rust. This language makes no sense to me. Okay, so we also have to create the variable for our guess variable. I need to look up what this mutt means. I guess it means, it has to mean mutable. So I guess you have to tell Rust whether you want an immutable or a mutable variable. Yeah, okay, so that's all there is to it. It just means mutable. So let mutable guess equal a new string. Okay? And we're going to call IO standard in, read line, and then we're going to give it the string that we want it to populate. And that's the guess string that we just created. And it looks like the .expect is what happens if there's an exception. I feel like it should say except. If there's an exception, not expect a failed to read line. I don't expect it to fail to read the line, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, user input, and let's try cargo run. Hello world. Okay, now it's waiting for our text, so let's go ahead and print it out afterwards. I wonder if we can just do that. Print line guess. No. Does it want something like that? No. Okay, let's go back to the tutorial. Now, where do we print? Print line, you guessed, blank, guess. Okay, so it uses the brace notation, kind of like some of the other, like Python. So, you said placeholder, and then the name of the variable that we want to print. So do it again. Okay, we say blah 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 blah. You said blah 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 blah. Great. So that's how you get user input. Since we're not making a guessing game, let's just change the variable name to user text. Okay, so now we have user input. We know how to get user input. Standard in read line. Pass it the string. And we print it out real easily. So, okay. Another one down. We should start breezing through these now that we have some baseline knowledge. So, taking command line arguments. Let's go back to that one. Rust command line arguments. Accepting command line arguments. Use standard n. Okay. So we're going to get some information from the environment. And it looks like we get the arguments provided by calling n::args.collect. So we got to collect the args, and it looks like what it returns is a vector of strings. And it looks like we're just saying let args, and instead of saying let mutable args, they're not mutable. I guess it's a little faster that way, and it protects the memory better. Okay, so let args, which is a vector of strings, equal environment args collect. Okay, now what if I want to print out just one? And so this is an interesting syntax for printing it out too. So to print a vector, you do, instead of just brace brace like before when we just printed out something, we have to do brace brace, but inside it you put colon question mark. So we'll have to figure out what that means. Let's see if they have any notes on that. Finally, we print vector using debug formatter. Okay, that's what the colon question mark is. Debug formatter. So I guess that's kind of like a pretty print, or just like a var dump that will just kind of dump out everything about the variable. Let's try running the code first with no arguments and then with 2 arguments. Okay. Yeah, let's go ahead and try that, but I'm also interested in, you know, can I just do args1 like that? Yeah, you can. Okay, but you gotta do like the address or the reference. You gotta do add ampersand args1. Okay, and that should just be a string, so I should be able to do print line excitedly, print line exclamation point, a quotation mark brace placeholder, and just pass it the variable. Okay, now if I don't pass it 1, is it going to error? Oh, I shouldn't have overwrote my file here. I'm gonna undo this. Yeah, I'm gonna go back to here. Save this one, and I want to start a new project. Cargo new CLI args. Okay, now in the CLI args program, that's where I want to put this argument stuff. And then I want to try running it, see how it runs. Okay, unused import. So it's interesting, it's like Go, it'll actually fail the compile if you have an import that you're not using. It forces you to keep your code kind of clean in that regard. They say, if you're not using it, take it out, or we won't even compile it. Okay, I still have an error. Oh yeah, okay, because I'm trying to access an argument that doesn't exist. So that's good, that's expected. Thread main panicked, index out of bounds. So if I give it 1 argument, then it works okay. So how would I, now they caught an exception before by doing this. I don't know if that's kind of a global thing that works. No. That must have been specific to whatever function call that was. So how do you catch? I mean, can you catch an exception like that? Rust catch index out of bounds. Like, do they have the equivalent of a try catch exception? Let's try Rust try catch. Try catch blocks. Oh wait, no. Let's go back to error handling from the official docs. Unrecoverable errors with panic. Yeah, this was an unrecoverable error. No, I'm not sure if you... I'm not seeing anything obvious. I'll come back to that. That's not critical for this, but we can do args0, and that one should be pretty much guaranteed to be there because that is the program itself. That's the name of the program itself, so we give it more. Okay, it prints out all the args, no problem. Now we know how to print out all the args and individual args and extract, a single arg. So how do we do a string comparison? How would we do something like if arg0 is equal to, or if args1 equals hello, then print hello. Rust string comparison. A quick Rust tip. If guess equals q, okay. Try vec get. Oh, Luke Lane is saying try vec get. So I think what they're saying is instead of trying to reference the index directly and getting a panic, I can do, I guess it's not vec, it would be args.get. Or would I do vec get and then like provide the vector to operate on? Rust vec get. Let's see if there's an example. Yeah, vector.get 1. Okay, so let's try this. Print line, and then let's print. We want what? Arg number 5, which most likely is not going to exist, but because it's using that get function, it should just return something like something not found, unexpected token. Oh, I need some semicolons here. Okay. It has trouble formatting. It probably has trouble formatting the none. Oh, let's give it the debug one again. Let's see if that helps. That brace might only be good for strings. Some. Interesting. Some. Why is it printing some like that? But that worked, so let's try it without. Thank you, Luke Lane, for that tip. That's a great tip. And I am new to this, so any tips here are welcome. Vladimir Urdesic subscribed. Awesome. Awesome. So, okay. That works. Will not panic if it doesn't exist. Now, how would I compare it to null to see if it is none? So I'll say like let arg5 equal that. Now, if I do print arg5, that should still work, right? Non-snake case, and that's a warning. Oh, it's just a warning. So do they actually like underscore better? Is that the standard in Rust, underscores? Yeah, looks like it didn't complain that time. Okay, so that it looks good. So now if arg5 is now, is it null? Is it nil? Is it none? Is it empty? Rust null keyword. So Rust empty variable. Let's see. Rust check if var is empty. Well, actually, it's none. No. Is empty. Is empty. Looks like it works for strings, and this is a string, so is empty. If that is empty, then let's print the line no fit arg provided. No method named is empty for type. Oh, it's not a string. Wait, it's an option template with string inside of it. So do I have to do something like get variable, or do I have to prefix it with some of these ampersands? Let's see. So it's not a regular string that I can just call that on. Do I have to do like for each, or... Okay. Let's see what the autocomplete suggests. Let's go back to the vector get and see what happens. Let's see what it says. It returns if there's nothing there. Pub fun get returns an option. It's a slice index. Let's see. Is okay, so this is where it was getting the sum, and it was printing out the sum, because now it's, you know, is sum. Thanks, Luke Lane. Yeah, that's I just found my way there. Option is sum is none. Let's try is none. Okay, that worked. Perfect. Okay, so we don't get a string, we get an option that has some functions or methods, maybe, yeah. Is sum returns true if it has some values. None if the option is none. Okay, so none with a capital N does look like kind of a keyword. We'll see though. Yeah, okay, none right there, bam. Looks like a keyword. Null Pixel has just subscribed. Awesome! We got more subscribers. Welcome. Okay, so making progress here. So will not panic if it doesn't exist. So we can access it this way directly using &arg's bracket notation to pull the direct index. But if you do an index out of bounds, you'll get a panic. You don't want to panic. Luke Lane suggested using get. Because we're working with the vector of strings, there's a method called get that will return the element at the position desired. If it doesn't exist, it won't panic. You can actually check and see with the isNone function or method whether it's empty. So that's how we did it. So when we print it out, it says none still. So this is the debug format output. Okay. So let's say it does exist, and we do pass it a fifth one. Now, how do I get out that variable from the option? I don't think I can just do this, where I just say if arg5 equals 5. We'll see. Print 5 is 5. Yeah. Expected enum, standard option. Yeah, okay, so I have to do something like, get value. So let's check it out again. On the left, we can see all the functions at a high-level view. Is some, is none, as ref, expect, map, okay, iter, might be iter, or get or insert, take, replace. Okay, so I think we're probably going to get get, maybe? If it's not get, we'll look at unwrap. Yeah, okay, it's starting to make sense because in the previous example that we were looking at, I'll open this one real quick, cause. So right here, where they have the unwrap, because the say must return the options thing just like it, because it's got an unwrap here and it says unwrap moves the value out of the options if there are values. In general, because this function may panic, its use is discouraged. Instead, prefer to use pattern matching and handle the none case explicitly. Oh, I see what it's saying. So it's saying, this one still might panic. If you ask it to unwrap and there's nothing there, it could still panic, even though we didn't panic when you asked us to get the value. But yeah, so let's try this and let's do an else here. So we can say if it's empty, then that's fine, handle it. But because it does panic, we want to be careful and only execute this if it's not empty. So maybe we can just kind of combine this else if and do like that. Else if arg5 dot unwrap equals 5. Let's try that. Let's see if that works. 5 is 5. And okay, and let's just do an else and say else 5 is not 5. Sad face. Okay, let's take off the fifth one. No fifth arg provided. Okay, so that's going into this case. Now if we do provide one, but we accidentally call it 6, 5 is not 5, okay. Great, so now we know how to do some string comparison. We know how to work a little bit better with these options things. I'm still kind of getting used to those. A vector makes sense from C++. An option just seems like an interesting sort of structure. It seems like the option is going to be something that's used very frequently, and once you kind of understand that, a lot of other things will make sense. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see if it comes up again. Okay, so we know how to get command line arguments, look at them, see if they're there, compare them, print them out. So I think we're pretty good there. Okay, so yeah, Luke Lane is saying there's a better way to do this with the match keyword. So let me check that out. Let me check out Rust doc option match. Okay, so match. Is that not a method on the option? Let's see, let's just do Rust option, not option, sorry, match. And thank you, Luke Lane. This is some of the feedback I was hoping to get because I am new to Rust. So definitely taking tips on how to do things better, anything important I may be missing. So this first suggested using vector get, which was helpful. That will not panic if the element doesn't exist. Then Luke Lane suggested looking up the options. which is the option is what you get returned from the get. So you have to know how to work with that. In this case, it's got a couple methods like isNone and unwrap. And unwrap pulls out the value. I'm not sure how it would work if there was more than one. Maybe I guess it wouldn't. If you're saying get one value, there's always going to be one thing to unwrap. Now he suggests look at the match control flow operator. Rust has an extremely powerful control flow operator called match that allows you to compare a value against a series of patterns and then execute code based off of which pattern matches. This sounds like a switch statement. Patterns can be made up of literal values, variable names, wildcards, and many other things. Chapter 18 covers all the different kinds of patterns and what they do. The power of match comes from the expressiveness of the patterns and the fact that the compiler confirms that all possible cases are handled. That's nice. Think of a match expression as being like a coin sorting machine. Coins slide down a track with variously sized holes along it, and each coin falls through it. The first hole it encounters that it fits into, it'll fall into. In the same way, values go through each pattern in a match. So, I'm not quite understanding how this is... Yeah, I'm not quite understanding how this is different than a switch statement, or how I can use it in my situation. Matching with option. Okay, maybe this is what I need. In the previous section, we wanted to get the inner t value of something. We can also handle option using match. Instead of comparing coins, we'll compare the variance of option t, but the way the match expression works remains the same. Yeah, this is not making sense to me right off the bat, so I'm going to file this one away as something to come back to. Because I'm finished with this example, so I'd like to move on to the next one. So we know how to take command line arguments. Let's look at reading and writing files. That's something we're going to have to do a lot. So let's close this. Let's start a new project. Cargo new file IO. So in the file IO, let's open the main file. And let's just look up, well, we're in the documentation right now, so let's see if they've got a section on files. I'm not seeing any section on files. Let's do a search. Reading a file. Okay, reading a file. Let's see. Okay, this is the line I'm going to start with. I'm going to copy that over. Let contents equal fs : read to string file name. Okay, and that must return an option because it's following it up with the expect. So I guess it's saying we expect this to go through, and if it doesn't, then this is the error message. So it looks like we're also, in order to do that, let's just put in the string here and call it test.txt. Let's create a new file called test.txt and put in a little bit of content. So we don't have fs defined anywhere, so we're probably going to have a use statement, and I bet it is standard fs. Let's go back and check. It is standard fs. And they're also using standard env, but I'm not seeing where that's needed, so let's try it without it. Let's go into our file IO directory and just try cargo run. Let contents, okay, unused variable contents, okay, we can fix that. Let's use it. Print line contents. Now let's run it again. You might be missing a string literal to format with. Okay, so I didn't realize I needed that all the time. So let's get it to print correctly. Okay, perfect. It read our file. Now that was pretty simple. That was a pretty straightforward one, and this is starting to look a little more intuitive now. So that's reading, but let's write a file first. You know, I bet, well, let's see. Reading. Oh, environment variables. How do you pull an environment variable? Okay, let's not get too off track there. We want to write a file. Rust doc write file. Okay. Write for file, so I'm probably gonna have to create a new file. Probably pass it. Let's see. Will open create. The open static method can be used to open a file in read-only mode. Okay, I don't want read-only mode, so create. Okay, create static method opens the file in write-only mode. So that's the one we want. Okay, now can we open it with append mode? So let's see. Path, let path equals something, let display equals path.display. Wow, this is a little ugly, isn't it? For just writing a file? Tell me this isn't pretty ugly. Okay, let's try and break it down. So, file create. So let's see what's going on. So this uses the match keyword that Luke Lane was just talking about. File create, okay. So it's going to create a new file for writing with the path that was created up here. So it doesn't just want a string for the file name, it wants like a formal path object. That's okay, I mean, it's not too wild. So, and then some error handling and OK handling. Okay, so this is just opening the file. And then we call file write all. Okay, so you do file create and then file write all. There's just a whole bunch of error handling that goes along with it. Okay, well, let's start with this. Let's start with, we want to do file create and give it the file path, right? From that, we're going to need a file path, so let's say let file path equal, it was path.new, right? And we give it a string. So let's just give it a full path. Same thing down here. Okay, let's go back to the example and see. So yeah, let path equal path new. But to do that, we'll want to include the use standard file system file and use standard path to import the classes we need. Okay, so we don't just want to create it, we want to call match in front of it, and there's a code block that comes after it which defines how to handle if there's an error and how to handle it if it's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste that part. So we've got inside the block we've got error and y. That's I guess it's creating that variable there, and we can pull out the description. And then if it's okay, we're just going to return the file. So when it returns the file, we actually need to save it, so we need to put something in front of it here. And in this case, so it looks like you don't have to specify the type when you're creating it. Like, you don't have to say let mutable file type variable name file. It looks like it will infer the type of the variable. Okay, so that will open the file for us, and then we can call write. So the method there is write all, file.write all. And this one also has a code block that follows it. So let's try and see if we can guess and do this ourselves. So if there's an error, yeah, we'll want to panic and we'll say couldn't write. Oh, I see what's going on. So all I'm going to do here is couldn't create file. Okay. Couldn't write, and then the error. And then we'll just say y.description. Okay. And then if it's okay, we don't want it to do anything. So I guess the underscore means kind of like go and ignored variable. And you do need a comma after that, so... Okay. Okay, but then if it's okay, I also want it to do something. In this case, print line. You know, let's see if can we leave it off and just not do anything? Or do we have to have this arrow? Let's try leaving it off. Because I don't want it to do anything if it works. Actually, if it does, maybe we can just leave the whole thing out. We'll see, I'm not sure how those things work yet. But we also need match in front of it. Now again, I'm not quite sure how this match is working. Oh, so these are the little coin slots that it was talking about. So the reason there is a code block after the function call is due to the match, and then it's going to take a branch of action depending on what is returned. So let's try this. Now, there's no closing of the file here. So I'm not sure if it's going to try and automatically close it after the write, because you're doing write all. So maybe it'll close automatically, but maybe not. So let's just run. I think I left out an include or two. Unused import. But I am using that one. Path.new. Let path equal path new. Oh, path : new, not path.new, because it's a static function, I'm guessing. What's going on here? Use standard path. Okay. Let path equal path new. Oh, semicolon. Hello. I probably need them here too. Yeah. Okay. Try again. Unreachable statement. scroll up a little bit. Y.description, unreachable statements. Which one is that? 32? No, 11. This one. It didn't like this one. Okay, let's do a little troubleshooting. What's going on? It says, let me clear this. Okay. File will be closed when out of scope. Thank you, Luke Lane. So the file is still in scope in this main function. So I'm interested to see, like, file will still be open. File closes at end of scope, and then we'll say move file right into own function. Or will it still work? I'm curious if after it writes it, if I can read from it before closing it. So we'll find out. Okay. Expected one of blah blah blah. Okay, so it does indeed want this arrow here. It needs to know what to do. So is there like a pass keyword? So Rust pass keyword. I just want it to do nothing. Maybe I can I just do that? I don't think that's how it works. That's not how the underscore works, but now what's the deal here? Just, oh, thank you. Just parentheses. Okay, so that just means don't do anything. Okay, it's unreachable expression found reserved identifier. Oh, it's giving me multiple errors. Okay, no method name description found for. Okay, so let's clear this again and try it. No method name description for. Oh, do I need to import the error? Yeah, I need to do this import error. And this needs bytes still, so like, that's probably why it's freaking out. I need to put something in the right. Yeah, so can I just do 2 bytes like they did on a string like that? Is that what they did? Yeah, as bytes, not 2 bytes. So let's see if that works on a string. Yeah, no method named write all found. Did I?
Hey, what's going on?
Let's make a variable like they did at the top. So what is it? Static text. This looks weird. What's with that single quote? Hello. Multi-line text. Okay. This looks a little weird to me, but go with it. Okay, so then we can say, when we write, instead of doing this, we can say, let's do our text as bytes. Oh, the B string. That's right, Luke. We saw the B string when we did the calce. Yeah, like this. So if you want a string as bytes, you can just prefix it with the B and get the bytes. Okay, I forgot about that. I'm gonna keep this one in here, but I will make a note or write all string as bytes. We should confirm that just to make sure. Oh, it doesn't need the add as bytes if I'm actually giving it the bytes already. Okay, no method, write all for type file. Let's go back to the example. Let mute file equal match create. Okay, there's one thing that I did leave out, and that's this prelude. I don't know what that is, which is why I left it out. I try to figure out where it fit in. Oh, that did make a big difference. It looks like that does. It looks like it does some import only mumbo jumbo. Okay, it ran and it worked, and it gave me a warning about the unused text, which is fine. But this worked, so let's go back to text.as bytes. Okay, all good. It's all working now, and it does let me read the file without explicitly closing it again. So that is interesting. I'm not sure again if it closes itself after write all. I'm assuming it doesn't, but like, can we just call file.close? No method name close. Okay. Rust close file. Standard fs file rust. Okay, on the left. Let's look over open, create, sync all. So there's no, it just says files are automatically closed when they go out of scope. So does that mean, now when it says it goes out of scope, to me that means a bracket closes. You know, the end of a function, but it might be intelligent enough. It might say, okay, file is never used again after this line. File, even though it's in the same scope, well, I guess it says when they go out of scope. So that's why it's a little confusing. Like, it's not out of scope past here. Whatever. It looks like we don't need to close it explicitly because it still reads fine from it, and they don't even have a close function. So, okay. I'm going to call this one done. We now know how to read and write files. Well, we know how to read and write everything, so let's see, is there a... You can create a scope with bracket. Oh, okay, so... Yeah, I mean, I guess what Luke is saying is you don't even need to create a function to put it in. You just create an arbitrary code block. You just create arbitrary block. Just create a new scope and close it without bothering to make a new function. Okay. I'll put a question mark because I'm not 100% how that works, but we'll leave it there as a note. File will close at end of scope automatically. Oh, my Visual Studio Code froze up. There we go. Okay, so write a file and read a file. So let's see. I am curious. To see, is there also read line? Can you read by lines? And can you read just an arbitrary amount of data? Yeah, so it's got a seek. That's pretty standard. From. Okay. It's going to be one of these read functions. Oh, okay, so it's going to read as many bytes as your buffer is long. But in this case, the buffer we're reading, read to string. So we read to a string, which I guess is kind of an indiscriminate size. But if we wanted to read a specific number of bytes, we would just create a buffer of that size. So we don't need to tell it, read 10 bytes into this buffer. We just say, read into this buffer, and it'll go, okay, that's 10 bytes. Okay, what about reading by lines? Do we have to split that up ourselves? Do we just do a split? I guess you could just do like a split. So let's also see Rust string split lines. So the documentation doesn't have very good examples. Use split. Let mute split equal. Okay. Okay, so the split function is real straightforward. It's just dot split and the string that you want to split on. So nothing unexpected there. I'm not even going to make a note about that because it's so straightforward. So let's see. Oh, there's the buff read. Okay, so when you create a file, you open a file for reading, or I guess you could do create, and then you create a buffered reader on top of it, it looks like. So you open the file handler and then you create a buffered reader on top of it, and then from there you can call lines. So you don't have to split it yourself. They do have a nice convenient function that will split your buffered read into lines. I'm not going to copy that one in. I'm just going to leave our file example as it is right now. So we just finished another one. So for those of you who just joined, we are looking at the Rust language. I'm pretty much brand new to Rust, so I'm taking this time to explore the language and build up a cookbook of snippets. And so what we've done so far is we started with the README and we took some notes on how to install the compiler, how to create new projects, how to run your projects. And we learned that Cargo is the package manager and build tool. A couple bookmarks for the documentation. And then we wrote several examples so far. So we started with a hello world that just prints out a message to the screen. And that's just a print line exclamation because it's an excited print line. We've got file IO, which is the one we just finished, which has an example of writing a file and then reading a file. The cowsay example, which is actually an example from the official tutorial, which uses a package called Ferris Says, and I guess Ferris is the name of their... Oh, didn't do all this last time. Oh, it's because I installed it with Rust up this time. Yeah, so... I mean, this is supposed to be a crab. Or, yeah, crab, I guess. He's their mascot. So, they've got a crab named Ferris who builds crates out of Rust. It's all very intuitive. Cal said we looked at also command line arts. how to get individual command line args, how to iterate, how to get all of them. So where are we now? We've got a little list of topics that we're trying to go through. So building a cookbook of reference snippets that we can use in the future to kind of look back on. So we started with Hello World, how to add dependencies to the metadata file, the TOML, getting user input from standard in, taking command line arguments, reading and writing files, and we have a handful of other ones that we were still kind of looking into. So we're not going to get through all these tonight, but we're just going to get as far as we can. So we've done some basic things like if you build a program, you need to be able to interact with the user, read and write files, take command line arguments. So now we've got the basic framework for files. Like if we wanted to write a program, we could do a lot with just the pieces that we've learned how to do. But if we want to do something like a networked application or something that consumes an API, we're going to need how to do things like TCP connections, HTTP requests, and parsing JSON, which is pretty much the most common form of data you'll get back from an API. So let's try and look up Rust TCP server. Okay, so the first hit is the official documentation for standard. Is part of the standard package. In the net package, they have a standard net TCP listener, which looks pretty promising. So we're going to have to create a client and a server combo in order to test this. I guess we could test it with netcat or something, but let's make a client-server pair. So let's go here. Let's do cargo new TCP server and a cargo new TCP client. Let's start with the TCP server. Okay. So, where should we start? Here's an example they have. Okay, so the main function's actually returning something this time, it looks like. And then we have a listener created from TCP listener bind. Now this question mark is interesting. What does that question mark mean? You know, in Ruby, you can have question marks and exclamation points just as part of the function names. So it would actually be like bind question mark and then from parentheses. Or like their print line, like print line my message. But I don't know what this question mark at the end means. Rust question mark after and question mark at end. Rust, the question mark operator. For people who are not familiar with Haskell or Scala, Rust's option and result types might feel a bit cumbersome and verbose to work with. Yes, they do, actually. To make it easier and less verbose to use them, RFC PR 243 has been proposed. In this blog post, I will go through some of the basics of the RFC and then compare with a hypothetical do notation. Now, I want a quick answer. The RFC proposes a question mark operator, which is a compiler-assisted rewrite of expressions around question mark characters. It is a unary suffix which can be placed on an expression to unwrap the value on the left-hand side while propagating any error through an early return. So the question mark is essentially a shortcut for .unwrap? Is that right? So can I just as easily replace the question mark with a .unwrap? We'll try it and find out. So let's start here. Let listener equal, it was, I think, standard net TCP listener dot bind. Let's just do localhost. Actually, I probably need the double quotes. And then it was a question mark, huh? Okay. Let's just use standard net TCP listener. Let's just try that and see if it works. Cargo run. Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect it to work. Let's see. The question mark operator can only be used in a function that returns a result or an option. So it's not dot bind, it's colon bind. Okay. Same thing though. Same thing. Oh, I don't need the standard net down here. Only in the import or the use statement. Okay, same thing. Cannot use question mark operator in a function that returns empty. So let's go back here and see. Okay, I think that's telling me that when my main function needs to define something that it returns. Okay. Yeah, we don't need that part yet. We just want to see if we can undeclared type. Oh. So I do need to... Wait a second. I need to... Okay, maybe I need to import two things. Error. Where's the first error? Use of undeclared type or module IO. So, I mean, did they forget to include that in their example? Because I don't see the use IO statement. Unused import IO result. Okay. Maybe it's because I'm not implementing the rest of it that will actually use it. So we need to create an empty function. So function handle client stream TCP stream, and we'll just say processing a TCP stream. So we know we got a connection. So let's try this. This is how their code looks. Right? Am I missing something? Okay. Use standard net. Handle client stream, okay. Function main returns an IO result. Listener equals TCP listener bind. Oh, I didn't give it a port. Maybe that has something to do with it. No? Use of undeclared type or module. So do I need to add a dependency in the metadata? Okay, so look, it is a shortcut for .unwrap. It is quite literally just a shortcut for .unwrap. So what's the problem here? It doesn't like my IO result. Failed to Let's just try a Google search. That answer didn't seem to be very obvious. So why is it telling me, in their example they don't have, they don't have any import for this IO. So why is it telling me use of undeclared type of module? Do I need to add it to my metadata file? Or do I just need to add a use statement? So let's see. Nothing too obvious there. Because in my thing, if I do use IO result, it doesn't like that. Yeah, unused import, and it still can't find that one. So is it like standard IO result? Is it just use IO? I mean, I don't know what's going on right now. They don't have any import for this IO result thing. So far, I am not very impressed with the language. I mean, maybe I haven't really tapped into any of the really features that makes it super awesome, but it's not the most elegant, like it's not very intuitive, and it's not anything special yet. I've seen no reason yet. I mean, of course I'm only tapping into it at the beginning, but I can't see any use case for this over any of the languages I have now for the time being. I mean, I'll have to see how it does the memory handling, but I've been running into some weird things, like even the official examples seem out of date. I tried it, so this is the beta, maybe that's why, but let me just take that out and see what happens. I still have no idea why. Let me find another example. Rust TCP server. Let's look at someone's example and see how they did it. Oh, is this it? This was included in another one that was kind of like a magical import. Standard IO prelude.star. That one was like a. Well, let me go back and add all the other stuff. Let stream equals, okay, so this is a client, so it's not listening, it's connecting. That's fine. Okay, here's the server. Okay, let's check out this example. That looks like a 404. Let's try this one. Okay, so do they import IO? No, nothing. function main, okay. Listener, TCP listener.bind, unwrap. Acceptor. So they're doing it without that return statement, which is okay. Handle client stream. Okay, so it says cannot use question mark operator in a function that returns blank. Now, why does listener incoming, or why does stream, which is coming from listener.incoming, why does that return blank? Maybe it should just wait and listen, I guess. So yeah, even their official example doesn't work. So maybe it's because, yeah, let's try and find the proper version. Search through, let's say, TCP listener. Okay, I'm gonna copy their example as is, copy paste, and I'm just gonna change the port. Okay, run, fail. Now, seriously. Now, if I run it on their playground, let's see what happens. Permission denied. Oh. Let's try 8,000. So it looks like it's listening. It's just yeah. It was just hanging on, so it was listening. So what version are they running? Am I running a different version than they are? How can you tell what version? Stable channel. Okay, 132.0. That's what I'm using. I'm using 132.0. Allow unused. Use standard IO is. Okay, so I see that there, but I don't see it here. Why didn't they put it there? And you click run, it shows up there. Oh my gosh, that worked. Luke Lane, you're a superhero. Use standard IO. It would have taken me a long time to figure that out. Use standard IO. Yeah, and they did put that there, but not here. In the latest documentation of the latest version. It's little things like this that really, really do kind of irk me when it comes to a language. Like, it's already a little weird, and when like I'm not using IO directly anywhere, right? It's just like, oh, by the way, you should have known you needed that underneath. I mean, maybe it's one of those things you just get used to, one of those Rust things. But as a beginner, it's kind of a turn off. So unused variable stream, that's fine. Yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll do the debug thing. So colon question mark, very intuitive symbol for debug statement, and then we can print out stream. Okay, so yeah, handle client, and then it's going to actually unpack the stream there, so we should be getting the stream itself and not like the option. So cargo run. Okay, now I'm actually going to try localhost. I'm going to hit it with a browser. Localhost 8000. Unable to connect. Oh, 8000. There we go. connection was reset. That's good. Oh, that makes sense, Luke. I am using I/O here. It threw me off. I guess I was expecting to see like standard I/O here, but you know they didn't even do that in the other ones. So, well, in one of the random examples I saw online, they didn't even have it at all. So, yeah, okay. Okay, so trying to understand here, like how these fit together here. So this okay is getting matched with after this block. So let's see. Okay, so we're getting the connections. That's great. Can we do something like stream.read? So TCP stream read. Let's look up the stream object now. TCP stream has methods like read. Okay, so read is not a method, it's a trait. So it's kind of like an interface that it implements, or like a base class that it kind of inherits. A trait seems kind of like an interface. So I should be able to do, yeah, just read. Do they have like the read to string? With the file I was able to do, what did I do in the file one? It was like read to string, file, read to, oh, that's a file system thing. Yeah, so that's different than the TCP stream. So we need a buffer to read, from, or read into. Read, okay, it returns a result object. Pull some bytes from this source into the specified buffer. Okay, here's an example. Okay, here's a buffer. So this is to create a buffer of a certain length. You say let mute buffer equal, and then you do bracket, and then I guess the start and the stop. So let's go ahead and make it like 256 bytes. And then I'm actually going to do this up here. So create a buffer, and then we want to read, and I think we do ampersand buffer like that. Read, oof, and read, and mute buffer with a bracket with 2 dots inside with the unwrap after it. Okay. Again, not one of those very intuitive things, like what is the dot dot? Why does it need the dot dot there? What does that mean, and what does that do? Rust dot dot operator. Two periods is the range operator. Okay, so it's basically just saying from 0 to 10, or 0 to whatever. So it's kind of like the Python equivalent of doing the colon, or I guess that would be Go, where you can do like from 1 to whatever, or from 5 to whatever, or from the beginning to 4. In this case, it's just saying from minimum to maximum. Okay, I can live with that. Now, do I have to do one of those match statements? Unexpected token. I need a semicolon. Okay. No method for unwrap found on type integer. Where was I? TCP read? Right. TCP stream read Rust. Okay. So we read into the buffer, stream read. And see, in this case, they just say read to the buffer. They don't have those. They don't have the bracket ... at all. Files. Well, this is a file one, so maybe that's why it's a little different, but. Let's see. I have to do this unwrap outside of the read function. I think? Is that right? So, yeah, the unwrap goes outside of the read. So, then what do I print line? Why do I even need to bother unwrapping? I mean, I'm not storing the return value anywhere. It's just in the buffer, right? And I probably have to do ampersand buffer. No method named read found for type TCP stream. Really? TCP stream doesn't have a read. I'm pretty sure that right here it says read for TCP stream. Is it : ? No, it's not static. It's actually attached to the stream. Now let's go back to looking at some examples. Okay. Yeah, so they did do a match stream read. Yeah, same thing. Well, hold on, let's go up. There's no read. Yes, there should be, right? There should be a read for TCP stream in the current scope. I forgot I made a coffee. It's cold coffee now. Okay. So why is the stream read not working? Let's go back and see. Match stream, okay. So we did confirm it is a TCP stream object. Why does it not like this? It doesn't like the stream.read. So where's their read function called? Read exact? Does that one exist? No method named readExact found for type standard net TCP stream in the current scope. Okay, so we do in fact have a TCP stream, but it's telling me there's none of these read functions exist on it. Now, it's called a trait. So do you have to do something special to access the traits? You shouldn't, right? See, like, well, so they have it with this match statement. So do I have to do match stream read and then here do like, you know, on OK, just, I don't know, print line, okay. Let's go back to trying to read. No method named read. Help. Items from traits can only be used if the trait is in scope. I don't really know what that means. This is the example they gave us. So, stream, I mean, is it not in scope? Is not both stream and scope, buffer and scope? This pattern has 0 fields. Expected 1 field, okay. Integer doesn't implement display. Buffer integer cannot be formatted with default formatter. Okay, let's try a couple things here then. Start reducing some of these errors. Okay. Do I need to unwrap the buffer? No, that doesn't sound right, but maybe I need to do it here? No. Okay, I'm still confused on why it says there's no read. Maybe it's because of what I'm passing it. It's saying like there's no signature that matches read with those type of arguments. Help, the following trait is implemented but not in scope. Perhaps use standard IO read. Jeez. Has it been telling me that the whole time? Has it been shouting that at me the whole time? You just need to import this. You just need to import this. Okay. Errors not covered, that's okay. Let's cover the error situation. And we're going to call it P. And then let's just try printing in debug mode, debug format, the error. Right? Just like that. Stream cannot borrow as mutable. Okay. Cannot borrow stream as mutable. Cannot borrow as mutable. So does... Let's see, let's go back to their example. Example, reading bytes from a TCP stream. Let's see, this is another example where like, they're using... Oh, there it is. Standard IO read. Okay, stream read. So they're using a mutable buffer. They're passing in the, you know, and mute buffer, which is, you know, the same thing I'm doing here. But theirs is a vector. we can try their vector instead. So let's say let mute buffer equal this vector, and instead of read, let's try what they're doing with the read to end. And yeah, I mean, let's just see if that works. Yeah, standard read not used. Okay. Unexpected token. Okay, that's, you know, read buffer match. It didn't like match. Or did I forget another semicolon? Yeah, I did. Okay. You know, we gotta be almost there. Cannot borrow as mutable. I need to Google what that means in Rust. I bet that's one of those common errors that people get. Can't borrow items as mutable. You are encountering the exact problem Rust was designed to prevent. You have a reference pointing into the vector and are attempting to insert into the vector. Doing so might cause the memory to be reallocated. Validating any existing references. That did not really answer my question. So let's see. Do I need the expect? I don't think I need that if I'm doing these matches. I think expect is like a shortcut for the error. Okay, so what are they doing? Where's their client? Or the... Oh, here's the server. Okay. Match stream. For stream. In listener incoming. Handle stream. Okay. Here's the handler. Oh, mute stream. So this one has a keyword up here, so on the parameter that it accepts, it says mute stream. That's how they're doing it. And it was complaining about cannot borrow as mutable. Maybe that's because I was trying to use it as a mutable, but I did not specify that it was mutable. Okay, so now it's all running. It's running. Now let's see. Okay. It accepted my connection. Bam! And now it's printing out the data we got. Alright. That's a win. A win for the TCP server. Okay. So, what it... Instead of creating a buffer of a definite size... And actually, let's try... Let's try this. So, instead of the vector, let's just use the hard-coded size one and just doing a straight read. So this should work just the same, right? Okay, so the buffer can't be formatted. What if we do unpack the buffer? No, I don't think it's going to like that either. Yeah, so buffer dot... Does it have a function like as bytes? Hey, Computers with Nikita. Nikita is back and says, underrated channel. And I totally agree. I'm very underrated. Well, I just started doing these streams, so I really hope that people will start to enjoy them and also get use of them after, you know, after they're published. Okay, so buffer as bytes. No, that doesn't exist. So why doesn't it? I can't print out as debug format. I can't print it out as a default. So what class is it? Oh, U8 256. I guess you have to like decode it. Rust print bytes from UTF-8. So they're suggesting using the debug format, but it doesn't even like the debug format for this buffer. Now, what type is it? It's now I assumed that this meant create a buffer. I guess that's initial and max size. You know, I don't know how Rust. I'm not sure how that notation works yet. So index 0 size. Yeah, so it looks like initial size and max size. Creating byte buffers in Rust, yeah. You could just create a vector. No. You know, I do like the vector method better because it's a bit more flexible, but I do want to figure out how you print. How do you print bytes? Let's just see. Rust print bytes. Standard string from UTF-8. Okay, and you have to do this unwrap after like everything. Okay, so let's try this. Let buff as string equals standard. Oh no, I guess it would be string. String from UTF-8. From UTF-8, and then you give it the buffer, and then you unwrap it. And I'm going to do that question mark shortcut. So let's see if that works. I think I'm going to have to do use standard IO string. No, maybe that wasn't it. Use standard string. No IO. Standard : string. And string : str. Oh, it's not string, it's just str. My bad. Stir from UTF-8 buffer. No. Unused. It's not unused. Is it? I'm using it right there. Well, that's just a warning. Unexpected token. Let's see. Expected one of dot semicolon. Let's see. The unwrap goes outside. Oh, I always need a semicolon. Alright, it's running now. When I do this now, instead of just printing out all of the bytes as numbers, it should print out the string. Perfect! So now it's printing out, you know, it printed out the whole HTTP request that it got. Well, all of them actually. Several, you know. It probably looked for a fave icon and all kinds of stuff. So, cool. It is, yeah, this one, accepting code, this one gets cut off because I'm using the buffer that is a set size. For a set size buffer, and then for a dynamic sized buffer. Mythic is back. Yes, sir, I am still alive. And Garen Sane01 asks, what are you making here? I'm not particularly making anything. What I'm making is a cookbook of Rust snippets. I'm learning Rust from scratch. And so, you know, at the very beginning, we figured out how to install the compiler, found the documentation, did a hello world, then we figured out how to add dependencies, how to get user input from standard input, how to print the standard out, how to take command line arguments, how to read and write files. That was the last one we just finished, the file I/O. So we did simple, you know, write a file and then read the contents. And now we're doing TCP sockets. So right at this moment, I'm writing a TCP server. And we just finished the TCP server. You know, we're kind of exploring the language too, learning some of the syntax and what these idioms are like. So just learning the language and creating this. And I am going to push these examples up to GitHub. So we will, you know, everybody will be able to go check out these examples themselves and look at them, you know, if they want to follow along or anything. So, okay, I want to get rid of this because I would rather use this dynamic size buffer. Now I want to make sure that it still works with the changes. No, this one is not doing exactly what I expected. Oh, there it is. It was just kind of hanging. I guess it was waiting for the rest of the request. So I just started up the TCP server, and now we hit it with the browser, and we have it printing out the string that the buffer that it receives in the TCP connection. So it's basically just echoing out the HTTP request that, you know, I'm hitting in my browser. It doesn't return anything right now. That's why it just hangs and fails in the browser. But the TCP server is listening and working. So to pair with it, I wanted to make a TCP client. So this shouldn't be too hard now that we got the server working. And we basically just want to do something very similar. So we want to, instead of the TCP listener bind, I'm pretty sure it is TCP listener.connect, because I saw it earlier. So TCP connect. Okay, so TCP stream has a connect method, and it actually looks pretty straightforward. TCP stream : connect, and you pass it in the IP address and port, and if it works, do this. If it fails, do that. So their second example, the second example has like a fallback. We don't need to do that. We just want a very, very basic example. So let's just copy that in there. Adjust the tabbing. And let's put this import, the use statement up at the top. And we have it listening on port 8000. And let's just try that. So let's get the server running. And this one, let's just run it here. So we'll say cd into TCP client, cargo run. Let's see. Okay, so the server got the server got the request. It's okay, but oh, this is just a warning: unused variable stream. So from here, this is where we would do something like stream.write. But let's just do a print line, just so that it's used. Let's do a print stream. Let's try print debug format stream. And then let's try running it again. Okay, great. Now we got rid of the warning. We got the server accepting the connection and just chilling for another one. On the client side, we've got it connecting. And okay, so now we want to have it write something. So let's try just writing some bytes and see how that works. You know, it's probably going to error out, but we'll figure out what the error is. Oh, yeah, maybe I need standard IO writes. Cannot borrow as mutable. Ooh, we had this one. We had the same thing happen. So do I just need to do mute? Like that? Mute stream? Alright, that is all I needed to do. So great. It's writing the message, the server's getting it. And it was as simple as just stream.write be hello. So now, using my knowledge that I gained so far, let's say I want to see if that worked. So I should be able to do match, and then after it there's going to be a code block, right? So there's going to be either an error with a message, and then we can say, like, you know, print the error in debug format. And then on OK, we'll just say write was successful. And I think we need a semicolon there after that. So hopefully that will work. No, print line exclamation, because it's a very exciting print line. Great, now it says write successful. Verified we received it on the server side. And so let's turn off the server and see what happens. Okay, it just says couldn't connect to server. Good. Okay, so we know how to write bytes to the server. So now we know how to read from the server. Now I guess if we wanted to write back to the client just as easily as we did here. So we're in the server code here, where we did stream read to end. We could probably just as easily, you know, stream right back to it. Yep, Mythic, we are indeed making a cookbook. Okay, so now we did TCP client and server. Another one down. So, okay, it's starting to get a little more comfortable. We've done 2 hours and 50 minutes of Rust, and I'm kind of starting to get it. It still is a little weird, like some of it doesn't make sense, but it's starting to fall into place after I do a few examples. So, I think I'm probably going to do 2 more. I'm going to do these 2, and then I'm going to do a couple Google searches and see what packages are available for things like this, because I am curious, you know, can it play audio? Is that part of the standard library? Or are there third-party libraries, or do you have to wrap a C library? Also, how does it handle multi-threading? And, you know, are there game libraries? Are there graphic libraries? Is there OpenGL libraries, or are they wrapped? And GUI programming, like, are there any wrappers for, you know, GTK, Qt? So, last real important ones, I think. Once we get the HTTP request and the JSON parsing working, I'd say we have a pretty good arsenal to start working on Rust stuff. You know, we didn't dive into how to manage the memory, but everything is built around web services these days, right? So understanding how to create a server, create a client, read and write files, take command line arguments, and doing the like REST API stuff will take you really, really far. We'd basically be able to implement web services and consume web services with our cookbook that we built so far. So let's knock out these last couple examples. So cargo new HTTP request. Now there's a couple type of HTTP requests. A GET is nice, but I feel like it would be incomplete if we didn't have a POST example on how to post the data. So let's look up Rust HTTP GET first. Oh, it looks like this might actually be part of the official standard library. I can't tell. Docs.rs. This looks like a different website. Yeah, this is docs.rustlang. Let's see. Search for HTTP GET. Okay. HTTP. I'm not seeing an HTTP library here in standards, so maybe this is one of those packages that they pulled out into an external package. Okay, yeah, so interesting. This one does not say author's official Rust team like a lot of the others did. So it looks like you'd have to write your own HTTP parser and everything, unless you use this third-party one. And there's not necessarily anything wrong with the third-party one, but okay, so HTTP request in the cargo toml file. We're going to add a dependency for this library. Okay, looks like we'll have to extern create use HTTP request response. So now that we added that dependency, we can do a cargo build, and it should download and install that dependency. And there it is, compiling HTTP 0115. Okay. Let's go into the main file. And so what did they say? You have to do extern HTTP, and then you have to use HTTP, and it was request and response. So to add multiple, you do just like a bash brace expansion. Okay. So let's look at their example again in the documentation. So let request equal request object : builder. So there's a static function called builder. And then, okay, so builder looks like it's going to return a base object, and then we're going to update the URI. We're going to hit devdungeon.com. Let's update the header to have a custom header. Let's add body. Ooh, okay, so this is probably where we would say bytes. This is the body of my request. And actually, I'm going to change this to our little local server that we had. Actually, I'm going to do this. I'm going to show you guys a cool tool that I built. It's called TCP Null. And you can find it on devdungeon.com, or you can find it on the GitHub here. And so TCP Null is a Java program. There's Python and Ruby versions too, but this is okay. So you go to releases, and then you download the Java jar. Okay, so open it up. Okay, so there should be... Oh. It looks like it's only the source. I messed up that download there, so... Okay, I'm gonna go get it from my website itself. So under devdungeon.com, there's projects and TCP null. And from here I can download the jar. Okay, so it's in my downloads folder. So if I do java-jar tcp-null.jar, so it gives you a little GUI here, and it says, sorry the text is a little small, but it basically asks you for a host, an IP and a port, and it asks you for an action to take with the request. So what it does is it's a TCP server that will just listen. Let's put it on 8000. And it's good for debugging and testing. So you have a couple options. You can turn it on and just have it listen, and you can say just discard anything that comes to it. It's like a dev null for TCP. So it's just a TCP server that will accept connections and just discard whatever you throw at it. But you can also do echo data back exactly as it was received, or echo it back as an HTTP response. So we can do start, and now it's running on port 8000. So if I do localhost 8000, then what gets returned to us as text is an echo back of what we sent it. So you can see that it's just printing back the response. So we can use this to do a little bit of testing with our client and see what body of data came through. Okay, so let's see, body, and then the last thing is .unwrap. Now we didn't specify the method, so I wonder if there's like a .method, post. But we'll see. So that's their example. It just, that's it. You don't have to actually call it. It just calls it when you do that, when you build it. Okay, let's try cargo run. Expected, what is the import statement? HTTP extern crate HTTP is what we needed. Cargo run. Okay, I forgot a semicolon, no problem. Okay, those are just warnings. I can deal with a warning. Okay. So let's see. Since I'm only using a request, I don't need the response. And request dot. So how do I extract the response or print it out? So let's just try a print line of debug format of the variable request. Let's see what it returns us. Okay, perfect. That one worked great. So running that, it looks like the request object here has a couple things. So we could probably do request.method specifically. And what else? So there's method, URI, version, and headers. So let's try headers and URI. Now I'm not sure if this is the correct notation to access those variables. Maybe, oh, you know what, maybe they are? Maybe those are functions? Oh, that did work. Perfect. So we can print the whole request if we just do print request, or we can print the individual things needed, like the method, whether it was a get or a post, the URL that it hit, and the headers that it sent in the request. Okay, but I actually want the I want the info about the response. So, is there how do I get the response value? That's it. Those are the only examples they provide. That's it. That's a pretty lightweight examples. They don't even... Okay, more information about this crate can be found in the crate documentation. Okay, request. Okay, response status. No. I'm looking for how to get the response from the request. Okay, let's just try looking up someone's existing example. Rust HTTP request. So we're close. Actually, let's go back here. So modules header. There it is. No. Okay, here's the struct. Methods. Okay, there's a method called request. Oh, that's right, that it is the request. We're looking for the response. Okay, so it looks like there's a couple ways to do this. We can do it with the builder. Method 1 using the builder. But it looks like there's also kind of a more direct way where you could just do request get or a request post. So it'd be like request post. Okay, so let's just try. I don't think it'll work as simple as that, but we'll give it a shot. Oh, it does! Okay, awesome. That's pretty straightforward. So let's comment those out. And say let request equals that, and then we'll call it request 2. Request 2 dot okay, so it's not post, not delete, options, head, connect, patch, trace, request new from parts, method, URI, version, headers, body, returns, body. How do you read? How do you get like the response? Okay, request.map. Map request. Okay. Let's look at some examples again. So how do they do it? Request.read response. See, I don't see that in here. Read response. Oops. Read response. See, I don't see that anywhere in here in the documentation for this. It's like not anywhere in there. So is this? I don't know. Is that an old function? I mean, let's try it. Just see if it kind of errors we get. Yeah, no method named on the builder. Oh, because it's a builder? Do I have to unwrap it like that? So let's try it with the first request. I guess that's the same. That's a builder too. It says request to is no method named read response. Okay, so yeah, this is request writer. Yeah, it looks like there are multiple HTTP libraries available. So, which one is the best? The one that's version 0? I mean, that's the one I'm using, is version 0, which gives you, version 0.1, which gives you lots of confidence, huh? Okay, so this is the one that other people seem to be recommending. Let's see, this one is version 0.9, updated 8 hours ago. Yeah, let's give that one a shot. So, okay, HTTP version 0.1. You're getting replaced with this library that's version 0.9. Almost version 1. Almost confident enough to call it version 1, but not confident enough to do so. Okay, so I wish you would give me the copy paste that I could do in here. So do I do like that? Let's just copy their whole example. Okay, function main returns a result. Ooh, that's arcane looking. Okay, so pretty sure this means it's returning, and this is a result kind of template, and all of this is the type of result. So I don't understand what the blank thing here followed by another error type. So I guess that's kind of like a tuple or something. Not sure yet. So then we say let response be a hash map of string to strings equals request.get. .json.unwrap. Okay. So let's leave off the JSON part for now. And then print. I'm not sure. Okay, so what is this? This is debug format. So what does the pound mean? Rust. Okay. No help there. Okay, so this is, I guess this down here is the result that it's returning. And I guess by default it returns? Like, is that the same thing? Okay, it's building and downloading the dependencies for this new HTTP package. Oh, looks like I need to install live SSL dev. It looks like it needs some of the SSL headers to do some compiling. So it looks like it's it must be using some of the C libraries under the hood. Actually, that's one thing I'd be interested in too, is wrapping C libraries and interoperability. Is that how you spell it? Interoperability. Interoperability with C objects. Can you link Rust? When you compile, you get the object file, right? Can you link Rust object files with C? Those are some things I'd be interested in. Like, can you write a library in Rust and then just call it from C? Okay, let's try this cargo run again. Oh, it says could not find OpenSSL. So, do I not have... Yeah, so OpenSSL dev. Hold on. What is it unhappy about? Failed to run package config. No such file directory. Okay. It needs... Oh, Brian Meyer says yes, easily. Thank you. I'm assuming you're talking about the interoperability between the two. So, okay. So it must export the object files using the standard, the standard function call methodology. So what is it? It said I was missing package config, so it's like a build essential. Install build essential. Okay. Bin utils? Is that it? Oops. Bin utils? No. Okay. Ubuntu package config. Install. What is that package called? Build essential. Well, I've already got that one installed. Package config. I guess you have to install that one separately. I thought that always came with the build essential. So, the answer here is yes. Okay, so we're almost done with these two. And it looks like the JSON is the JSON handling is kind of packaged in with this HTTP request library. So, okay, I renamed this to response. Unexpected, expected struct found. Okay, let's try again. Clear. What is it not like here? Expected struct hash map found struct response. I guess it's because it expects the JSON. So what I'm going to do here is comment out all 3 lines, paste them, and then I want to get rid of this one, and I just want to say let response equal the request get. So when you decode the JSON, you'll get the hash map. You'll essentially get a dictionary of key and value pairs. So yeah, request, that's actually Dmitry Ivanov, that's actually how it's spelled. It's not a typo. Request with a W is actually how the library is spelled. So I'm assuming that if I don't do the JSON unwrap, then I'll just get the body back as a string or whatever. So no problem. Okay, perfect. So if you just want the body, and I'm going to replace this with the question mark shortcut, and same with these. Now that I'm more familiar with that, you don't have to do .unwrap, you can just do question mark. Okay, so simple get. Okay, now let's see, is there something like request response.body? Where's their documentation? Here we go, docs. Request. It handles plain bodies, JSON, URL encoded, and multi-part. Okay. Rudimentary cookie support, that's okay. .text. Okay, so .text is the way you get it, and you gotta unwrap that too, so let's try this. Oh, I think it's a function call, so I need to add the parentheses. Yeah, it is. Okay. Cannot borrow as mutable. Okay, so I need to say let mutable response equal request.get. Starting to get the hang of this. Okay, cool. So this is the HTTP request, the body, and here's the response. 200 okay, no headers. Okay, perfect. So that's how you do a simple get. Let's put that one up there. And now I am interested in getting some JSON. So let's actually look up the Bitcoin API. Sure, this one's okay. Actually, let's do this. I have the API link somewhere around here, so in this tutorial is about checking the Bitcoin price and then posting it to Discord as a webhook. But what I'm really looking at here is this. I just wanted this URL for api.coindesk that returns the Bitcoin price as a JSON. So Brian Myers says let response. This is let JSON hashmap string equals response.json. Okay. I see. So what you're saying about response.json, like I could do it that way. I could just semicolon here and then do like response.json, but I'm going to keep their example where it's they're decoding the JSON too and putting that in the response. So from there, let's see if we can just print line debug format the response. Okay. Brian Myers says you have to give it type information because that's the only way it knows what type you want to return from the JSON method. Because JSON method is generic. Okay, that makes sense because, it might have integers in there. But I guess if you just say hashmap string, it's going to return everything as a string. and it would be up to you to kind of convert the strings to integers again. So yeah, that's interesting. Let me see. I got an error though. Error kind JSON error invalid type map expected a string. Okay, so something is going wrong here. So let's see. Okay, so invalid type map expected a string. So request.get is returning an option that must be unwrapped, and then what we get back, I guess, is the response option. Do I have to, I don't have to do dot text? No, that wouldn't make sense. Get the text and then do the JSON? That doesn't, yeah. Unexpected token. Yeah, it didn't like that. No method named JSON for string. So I don't get it. It says it expects a string. What's going on here? Let's do response 2 just to make sure we're not screwing anything up. And do I need mute? No, I don't think I need mute response. Oh, so I mean, maybe I'll try doing it this way. This is kind of what Brian Myers was saying. Brian Myers says, the JSON response from this particular URL is not an object, so it can't be deserialized into a hash map. Okay, so you're saying it's just like, it's complex JSON that it can't, you know, if it's multi-level JSON, it can't just drop it into a flat hash map. It would need, like in Go, you have to unmarshal the JavaScript from what you get, and so you have to create an object and specify exactly what items are nested within what, and then you say, okay, map this JSON into this object according to that. So, okay, let me go back to the example that they gave us regarding the JSON. Okay, so let's try this. Client.post. Oh, this is a different way of doing it. Okay, I'm gonna delete that section that didn't work. So what Brian Myers? Oh, 0xD201D subscribed. Awesome. Welcome. Okay. Okay, so I like this method where you create a client and then you can kind of do whatever you want with it. Okay, so this would actually be doing a post, and we have to actually give it the map. We have to create the map, so that's what they were doing over here. say let mutable map equal hash map new. Okay, and then map.insert, we'll just say key 1, value 1, map.insert, key 2, value 2. Okay, so now we have a map that we can throw in to our request. And so this is gonna, unmarshal that JSON and then send the request. Okay, invalid data, unexpected bytes before writing message. Is it because my server stopped? No, it's still running. Clear. Wait. Now it's running? Okay. I thought it was erroring out. I guess not. So let's see if we can get some information about that. We'll call it the post response. And we'll call that one the get response. So post response equals client post, HTTP bin, that's like a debugging website. So we want the post response dot text, right? Print the text. But we have to give it the formatter we want it to use. Okay. Cannot borrow as mutable. Okay, let's is there a way to not add the mutable keyword but tell this not to use? Oh, is that why they always add that ampersand? No. I'm just shooting in the dark now. Okay, so let's just let that be a mutable object. Awesome. Awesome. So it ends up, HTTP bin, it ends up echoing back your data just to kind of confirm that it worked. And it looks like it did, in fact, receive the JSON in the key values. Okay, so we know how to do a post and post JSON, which is what I wanted to do. That was one of my important goals, because GET requests are great, but unless you can do a post with some data, particularly JSON, then you're kind of limited. REST APIs, you need to be able to do post and GET. So this is good. We know how to do GET, simple GET, and this is going to be posting JSON. And I'm just going to make a note here about to get JSON response from that, you would do get response dot JSON. Okay, posting JSON, getting. Okay, so I think we're good on the HTTP requests. We got some good examples there. And we did the JSON. I mean, we didn't get too advanced into the JSON. I guess, again, yeah, like Brian Myers was saying, if you've got some complex data structures, you probably have to, create a special class or a struct. See, that's one thing I'm not sure about, too. They are classes and objects, I guess, so I guess this is considered an object-oriented language. Unlike Go, where they don't call Go an object-oriented language. Even though it essentially is, they don't refer to it that way. Like, you deal with structs and then functions that operate on the structs. So it's more like C. It's more like C, where you always pass in the object you're working on in the first thing, but they've reworked the syntax so you don't constantly have to pass the first variable as the object you want to work on. So that's what Go does. It's like I guess they were just like, didn't want to call themselves an object-oriented programming language because that's not cool anymore. So, but I guess the other reason that they say it's not is because there's not quite exactly the same kind of polymorphism and inheritance. You inherit essentially by embedding a struct inside of your struct. So I am curious, like Rust define data struct. So, okay, current version, data structs. Okay, struct user. Then you give it the names, colon, and then the data type. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. So I guess if you had a complex JSON object, you'd probably do something like, here's my struct, but in here I've got some list of properties, right? And then in there you might have the hash map of, string to strings. Right? You could probably do something like that. Let's just see if that compiles. Oh, yeah, it probably doesn't need the parentheses there. So yeah, I mean, it compiled that way. So Brian Myers says, when you want to investigate JSON further, check out Serity_JSON crate, which has a type called value, which will always work as the return type. Oh, okay. That looks promising. I'm going to write a note about that to check out Serity_JSON crate. So let's go check it out too. So I guess this will kind of create a dynamic JSON type of object. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm not going to dig more into that right now, but I made a note of that here, so we'll definitely check that out if I have to do this again. So what else did I want to look into? Let's see. Yeah, I'm curious about graphics libraries and also GUI library, and just see if there's like a game dev library. Okay, high performance bindless graphics for Rust. Okay, a library for 2D graphics written in Rust. Okay, let's check out those two. It's a low-level cross-platform graphics abstraction library, which contains backends for Vulkan, DirectX, Metal, OpenGL. Okay. Hardware abstraction. Yeah, okay. Interesting. So, this isn't just like, it's not a wrapper for something like SDL. It's actually a replacement for SDL. It actually ties directly into these. Let's look at some of the source. Yeah, devices. So I do have to say, like, compared to Go, I don't really like it better as far as the syntax and stuff. But if you were to compare this to C and C++, I do think this looks nicer than C++ and C. If nothing else, just for like not having all of the import header files and not having separate header files and stuff, like that just gets really gross. So Brian Myers, it sounds like you know Rust pretty well. Can you give me any idea of like what a good use case is for it? Like in my case, Go is what I would go to if I needed a fast, compiled, concurrent language. Now, I'm guessing that Rust has slightly more power when it comes to controlling memory. Is that really all that it offers? Is like a little more memory manipulation than Go? so this graphics library looks okay. Last commit 27 days ago, so not bad. Looks like they do have some documentation. Okay, this one gives you some real basic things like rectangles and circles. Okay, so there are some graphics libraries that exist. Cool. Yeah, these awesome packages are kind of nice too. I'm going to throw a link to that in the README. Okay, so graphics and games. There looks like there's yeah, more than I expected as far as game libraries. Oh, that's actually a game itself. Oh, these actual games. These are games, not game libraries. So graphics, couple graphics libraries, security tools, TCP connection hijacker, multi-threaded packet sniffer. Okay, so are they wrapping live PCAP, or what are they doing here? Let's look at their metadata file. Dependencies, struct thread pool, PCAP. Okay, so there's a Rust PCAP library. Is that the only one? Looks like it. Okay. So PCAP, build failing, version 0.7, so it's not, even the author's not super confident in it, looks like, but yeah, okay, so it is a wrapper for live PCAP and the TCP dump libraries. Let's check out the examples. Let's give one a shot, actually. Let's try it out. So let's create a new project, cargo new packet capture. And then let's open that up in Visual Studio Code. And there was a PCAP library. Examples. Let's do easy list. Get devices. Let's just start there. Get devices should just list the network devices. It'll just kind of verify everything's working. Version 0.7.0. Okay. In the main, let's just drop in the file that they gave us. So extern create PCAP. Yeah, we know it. That's what it does. Okay, so PCAP device list, and then yeah, we unwrap it. And so a for loop looks pretty straightforward. For device in list, print line found device, device name. Okay, now you can create or capture. So you would just open it, let mutable capture device from capture device. Okay, let's. So I think I do need to install live PCAP dev first, because it's going to compile some of those libraries, and it did mention that this was a dependency. And by the way, I do have other tutorials on packet capturing. If you're interested in packet capturing, let's see, I've got one on Java, and highlight all. Okay. There's one with Go. There's one with C, and I don't think I've posted one with Python yet. But so you can do it in. These are all wrappers for live PCAP, but there's one in Java. It shows you how to do packet capturing in Java. Another one that shows you how to do it in Go. Also, I wrote a book in Go called Security with Go. It has a whole chapter on packet capturing. I also spoke at GopherCon 2016 about packet capturing, so there's a lecture there that basically covers all the stuff here. And then there's also a tutorial of doing it in C. So you can go explore some of those, and now we're looking at how to do it in Rust. Okay, so pretty straightforward wrapper for PCAP actually. That was pretty clean, I have to admit. So let's try cargo run. It's probably going to error out because I probably need to be sudo. Let's see. Cannot use. Interesting. So they did have unwrap, right? All I did was replace those. Interesting. It apparently unwrap and question mark are not completely interchangeable, like I thought. But okay, found device. It found one device. I'm in a virtual machine, so that's the only device it found. Thread main panic operation not permitted. Yeah, because I'm not sudo, I don't have access to read those network devices. Let's see. Because root doesn't have. How do you run sudo with your current path? Path equals path. Okay. Sudo and path. Wait, no. I had that backwards. Equals the value of path. No, that didn't work. Sudo and I gotta do. I'm passing the end to sudo. Okay, awesome. We just captured a packet with Rust. Got a packet. Okay. Cool. So I guess that's timestamp, capture length, 305 bytes, data. This looks like all data. Okay. I'm sure you can inspect the packet and get, the TCP flags and all of that good stuff. I just wanted to see if it works, and it actually worked pretty smoothly. So let's knock out packet capturing on that one. Let's put this into the README. Topics. Okay. All right. Well, I think that's all we're going to cover tonight. I might come back and check these out on another night, but I'd call this a successful night. I started out with pretty much no Rust knowledge, and from there we looked at how to install the compiler, apt-get install rust-c, or use the rust up tool. Cargo is the package manager and compiler, so Cargo knew my project, Cargo run, Cargo build, useful links, documentation, getting started, package repositories, and awesome Rust, and some of the topics we covered. So this should be a pretty solid reference, not only for myself, but anybody else who might find it useful. And with all these examples, the last thing I'm going to do for the night... Ooh! My terminal's borked. There we go. Clear. Okay, so I'm just going to, get in it, get all this stuff added, make sure there's nothing weird. Okay. Oh, let's see. Actually, this is not what I want to do. I'm going to open this folder and put it into my regular cookbook. So I've got Rust Cookbook. I'm just simply going to rename that to Rust. I'm actually going to remove the Git folder completely, and I'm going to move that into my regular Death Dungeon cookbook. And I'm going to delete this tiny little one there. Okay. Okay, hold on. Close. Copy, paste, merge. Okay, so now if the debug, no, that's fine. I'm git ignoring that anyway. So okay, Brian here says Rust gives you C and C++ level control over memory, which Go doesn't. That's true. But even if you don't need that, it's got some advantages for Go-style concurrent programming. Go routines are awesome, but they don't completely prevent data races, which Rust does. Rust has more cognitive overhead, though. Yeah, it's starting to look like that. Like it's not the most intuitive, but I'm not gonna judge it too hard since it's my first day and I've only had like 3 or 4 hours on it. Okay, so let me commit these changes. Okay. Let's reset the Java directory. Okay. Okay, so we added all the Rust examples. Adding Rust examples. We're gonna do the push. Let me see here. Okay, so now if we go to the Dev Dungeon GitHub and we go to the cookbook, now I threw a lot of stuff under the other folder. I kind of wish I didn't do that now. I'm going to move all these out here and get rid of other. Hey, so it looks like someone just joined. Hiltuska Official. What we're doing here is we were looking at Rust tonight. So hold on, let me do this push real quick. Okay, so we were looking at Rust. And what we did was basically create a cookbook of Rust examples. So we started from scratch. We kind of figured out how to install the compiler, how to get things going, starting a new project, how to run a project. And we basically created a whole bunch of examples here. So we're just learning how to use Rust and creating reference material for future selves. No, this isn't a game. That's just a background screen. It's just called CMatrix. So we created some examples like CLI args, a cowsay example from the official docs, how to read and write files, hello world, how to do HTTP requests and parse the JSON, how to do packet capturing, how to create a TCP client and a server, and how to get user input. So just learning Rust, getting familiar with it, and all that. So now we're pretty much wrapping up. I just committed all my examples and pushed them up to the cookbook, which you can find at github.com/devdungeon/cookbook. There are a whole bunch of snippets for a bunch of languages. Lots of Python stuff, lots of Go stuff. And now we've got some Rust stuff. CS Gray asks, what keyboard do I have? It is a Logitech 910. So it's like this Orion Spark. Yeah, I really like Logitech stuff. Particularly, they've got those programmable G keys. But you know, I use a Logitech headset, Logitech mouse, and their stuff lasts forever, and it's really good. I've been really happy with Logitech stuff. So I guess I'm gonna wrap it up now, unless anybody has any questions that they want to ask or anything like that. And so I'm going to take a minute to just kind of plug my stuff. Check out devdungeon.com. You can come join us on Discord. We have a Discord server. Lots of tutorials on writing bots and stuff like that. My Security with Go book. You can check out my book. It's all about security with Go. Come check out all the different tutorials we got. Got lots of good tutorials on all kinds of stuff related to programming. If you go check out the YouTube channel, we started doing these live streams recently, and so I had some, produced videos before, but started doing the live streaming, and we did things like installing Arch Linux, making Discord AI chatbots, setting up a custom Minecraft server, writing custom Minecraft plugins. Last night we did PayPal stuff, how to get PayPal notifications with Flask and Python, and today we're checking out Rust. So I encourage you all to subscribe, do the alerts, and make sure you come check out, Hiltuska Official, come check out the Discord channel and hang out. It's a great place to talk about programming stuff. So I'm going to wrap it up for now. I'm glad you guys came out. I'm going to try and do this nightly, so come back and check out around 9 p.m. Central. Have a good night, everybody.